Hey there, how there, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to yet another Cutter Top 10 video and try to lower my thing down. But anyway, we're going to be looking at some Raptor stuff today as we have the number 9 RJ Barrett Toronto Raptors alternate jersey I have. Of course, taping this in the day one of the Toronto Raptors trying to make the playoffs. They made the playoffs in 2026, so this is game one, the day of game one against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and hopefully the Raptors do well in their series to win. I mean, the first time the Raptors have been to the playoffs in 4 years. I couldn't remember 2022 playoffs. I know in 2023, was it 2023 when they went to the play-in game and DeMar DeRozan's daughter became a bitch? Just saying. Anyway, yeah, so today we're going to be looking at the top 10 Toronto Raptor playoff moments of all time. Regular season moments like Vince Carter's slam dunk competition or that 96 win over the eventual 72 game winning and NBA title winning Chicago Bulls in their inaugural season 1996 don't count on this list. So here's the list. Number 10 is the head to head battle between Carter and Iverson 2001. Now you had two very good point producers in this game. The Raptors, of course, with Vince Carter in the second round against Allen Iverson, who was the Sixers' magic man, if you will. Carter from North Carolina, Iverson from Georgetown. Carter was a top 5 pick, so was Allen Iverson. Well, Iverson was a number 1 pick in that famous 1996 draft. But the 2001 second round between the Raptors and Sixers, which is remembered for something else, we will talk about that later, um, produced some great matchups as both Iverson and Carter put up like 40 plus points performances. And in game 7, of course, Philly won. But Carter and Iverson were big, and it brought NBC to broadcast a few games in Toronto and to see Vince Carter in action and make the American media recognize us, acknowledge me, as Roman Reigns would say. Anyway, number 9 is Pascal Siakam in Game 1 of the 2019 NBA Finals. One of the most underrated performances in the Raptors in their series against Golden State Warriors was Game 1 when Pascal put up 32 points. The guy from New Mexico State, who I'm like, no good players come from New Mexico State except for Sam Lacey. But anyhow, Siakam made New Mexico State proud and did well. He put up a 32-point effort in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Raptors won that game, and of course, the Raptors went on to do well in the NBA Finals. We'll talk about that later. Number 8 is the unheralded three-pointer by OG Anunoby, 2020 playoffs. Now, 2020 was a strange season indeed. The Raptors took care of Golden State in an NBA Finals rematch in Golden State at the new Chase Center because they moved from Oakland to San Francisco after the 2019 season. However, COVID would ruin things a bit. I partially blame Rudy Gobert because he was the first sportsman with the COVID thing and it spread like wildfire, but you can't really blame him. But the fact is, the world shut down, and then a few months later, the NBA decided to put all the teams that were looking to be NBA playoff teams into what they call a bubble at Walt Disney World in Orlando. So they would play games there, and it was crazy. The Raptors would play the Celtics in the Eastern semifinals, and Boston was up 2 games to none. Toronto were technically the road team for game 3, and then there was that big pass that actually out of bounds that looped over the 7-foot tall Taco Fall right into OG Anunoby's hands, who shot a three-pointer before the buzzer sounded to win the game for the Raptors. It was like unbelievable. To get the pass over Taco Fall's hands was big enough, and then the three-pointer. OG would be happy as can be and all that. So, of course, the Raptors did lose Game 7 to the Celtics, which was shocking in itself. Number 7 is Fred VanVleet in the 2019 Finals. We all know Kawhi Leonard was the NBA Finals MVP, but can you imagine if it wasn't him? It was Fred VanVleet, the undrafted player from Wichita State. I was actually talking to Rob Barsiger, who is a Wichita State alum and all that, and I was talking to him and saying, well, Fred VanVleet, do you think he'll do well for the Raptors? I hope he does. And then he's like, yeah, I think he'll be fine. Well, Fred did his job. A few years for the Raptors, and then in 2019 in the playoffs, he came out of freaking nowhere. His clutch shooting especially after Fred Jr., his son, was born, helped Van Fleet do the job. Raptors beat the Warriors in the title. So Van Fleet was just basically on fire. Number 6 is the Raptors come back against the Bucks in the 2019 conference finals. We all know about the Raptors making the 2019 NBA finals, but to do so, they would have to take care of the Milwaukee Bucks and one Giannis Antetokounmpo and fear the deer. The Bucks were up 2 games to none. They had home court for the conference finals. Raptors were down 2-0, and it looked pretty bad. And then, strange as it sounded, game 3, the Raptors were in trouble, but they managed to force overtime, won in double overtime, and we didn't know that that would force the Raptors into a 2-1 deficit, and then 3 more wins, as the Raptors would win in 6 games, take out those pesky Bucks, and get to the NBA Finals, giving Canada something to cheer for in basketball. Now, of course, this also has a personal touch for me because the day after the Raptors came back to win game 3, I got a job interview at Sheridan Nurseries, a greenery close to my house. Of course, I wasn't sure about wanting a job with them because, I mean, what would I do with a greenhouse and all that? I can't grow things for crap. But they gave me a couple of 10 to 3 shifts a week, and, it's better than 0. 10 is better than 0. So I did all that, and then lo and behold, once I started my job, the Raptors did their job, and I screwed up. Like, the job interview was the day after number 1 on this list. But yeah, when I started my job, my first day on the job was the day of game 4. Whatever. But anyway, yeah, the Raptors put on a clinic against Milwaukee in the conference finals, and everyone went bonkers in Toronto, making everyone forget about the Leafs choke job against the Bruins. Number 5 is Kyle Lowry's three-pointer in 2016 against the Miami Heat, game 1 of the conference finals. So Toronto had done the impossible. They beat Orlando in 2016, making sure they won a playoff series for the first time in 15 freaking years. And then they took on the Miami Heat with Dwayne Wade and co. No, not with LeBron and not with Bosh. Bosh was hurt, and LeBron went back to Cleveland. Anyway, Kyle Lowry had the ball and then put up this desperation half-court heave because the Heat were up by 3 points in game 1 of the conference semifinals. And then Lowry somehow put the ball into the net. Everyone went bonkers, and the Raptors won that game and won in 7 games over the Heat to get to the NBA conference finals, losing to those pesky, soon-to-be champ Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron, who fucked us over too many times to count. Good old Kyle Lowry. Good old Kyle Lowry. So yeah, number 6 and all that. Number 5. So yeah, so Kyle Lowry's three-pointer was just amazing. Number 4 is Alvin Williams winning the series against the Knicks in 2001. You never forget your first. That's the old saying for the Raptors fans like myself. The Raptors made their first playoff series in 2000 against the New York Knicks, got swept by the Knicks in the best of 5 before they moved to best of 7 in 2003 for the first round. So anyway, the Raptors would take on those old rivals Knicks again in 2001, and the Knicks looked to be good. The Raptors split in New York and split in Toronto. So it was winner take all game 5 on a Friday night, TNT broadcasting it with, I think it was Dick Stockton. But anyway, Alvin Williams made a clutch shot in the final minute against the Knicks in the 4th quarter, winning the game for the Raptors and sending the Raptors to the second round. And speaking of that second round, that's what number 3 is. Vince Carter missing the shot in 2001. So as I mentioned before, Carter versus Iverson and all that. That was the second round thing. And of course, the Raptors beating the Knicks to get to this round. So the Raptors and Knicks would fight each other to a game 7. Game 7 was big. It was going to be a Sunday afternoon affair. Although it was at 5:30 in the afternoon, Eastern time. It was like, what the? But nevertheless, Raptors would play the Sixers on NBC. All that Tom Hammond would have the call. And, but crazy as it sounded, game 7 was crazy for Vince Carter. Not just because of what. But the fact is that in the daytime, it was actually his graduation ceremony with North Carolina. He promised his mother he would attend his graduation ceremony. And he did. He had to duck out early because obviously he had to go to Philly for the basketball game, game 7. A lot of people said Carter was selfish and all that, but he promised his mother he would help. He would go to graduation. I mean, mothers are mothers. Anyway, Carter had the ball for the last shot, and unfortunately, he missed completely. The Sixers won the game, went to the NBA Conference Finals against the Milwaukee Bucks. It took 7 games, but Allen Iverson got to the finals. They beat the Lakers in game 1, but couldn't beat them the rest of the way as the Lakers put four straight wins on them. Number 2 is winning the NBA title in 2019. Personally, to me, yes, we won the title, but number 1 is number 1 for a reason. Anyhow, winning the title was big. The Raptors survived Orlando. I think it was Orlando. And then took care of those pesky Philadelphia 76ers in the second round. And then Milwaukee coming back from love 2 down. And then Golden State, the 2-time defending champs, were coming to town. And the Raptors did have home court because they actually beat Golden State in Toronto in an overtime game. That actually was proven that Toronto actually, they had one game more than Golden State did. So the Raptors got the host. First 2 games was a split. They won 2 out of 3 in Oakland to make it 3-2. All they needed to, they won. They won games 3 and 4 in Oakland, and then game 5 they had a chance to win on home court. Nope. Game 6 in Golden State on a Thursday evening, they did it. They pulled it off. Golden State were injury riddled and all that. I mean, people were cheering. And a lot of people thought they were cheering for Kevin Durant's injury. But no, they were cheering that Durant was up on the court. That was a big mistake by the press. But Toronto won the game 6. It was amazing bringing the Larry O'Brien Trophy north of the border and actually proving to the world that they can be the team of destiny and all that. And number 1 is the shot that, without the shot, I don't think the Raptors would have won the 2019 title. That was Kawhi Leonard's shot in Game 7 against Philly, second round. The Raptors and Sixers were going at it again in a 6-game nail-biter that needed a Game 7 in Toronto this time, not in Philadelphia. So Toronto felt good. Raptors had a decent lead, but then the Sixers scored a late basket with 5 seconds left. Raptors had a timeout, called timeout, had the ball in half court. The ball went to Kawhi, who was close to his defender, took a couple steps, bounced the shot, and then boom, 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 boom. 4 bounces off the rim, it through the net. As Kevin Harlan says, Game Series, Toronto has won. It was one of the biggest moments in Raptor history and one of the best game winners in playoff history. Yes, we know about Damian Lillard's 2 playoff game winners, one that sent Portland to the second round for the first time in 14 years when he did in 2014 as a rookie. And MJ's the shot in the first round against Cleveland. Of course, it was best of 5. But Kawhi's shot, just like Michael Jordan's, was actually a winner-take-all game winner. Of course, Leonard's was a Game 7 shot. And it erased the bitter taste of 18 years prior as the Philadelphia 76ers won on a shot like that. But then the Raptors, my boys, with Vince Carter, did it. And 18 years later, the ball bounced into the net, giving the Raptors the win over the Sixers. And of course, the rest is freaking history. So let's go Raptors. Let's go Raptors. Let's beat those dumb Cavs. Give us glory. That's all I gotta say. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.